What's up, guys? Chris Flick here, Chris Flick Podcast, episode number 135. Today, I was sitting outside getting ready to record this episode, and I hear a little thunder rumbling, right? I was hoping to get a nice sunrise episode, but instead we got rain. And that's the first time we got rain up here in Pennsylvania in a long time, in weeks. All right, what do we hit here? It's August 22nd. I don't even know if it really rained significantly at all the month of August. So anyhow, as I was preparing for this, as I'm getting ready, setting up, I start the record button and I hear the thunder. So I moved into the bathroom. And there's a topic here that I want to talk about that I would say is pretty heavy, right? I saw a friend last week and we were talking about some of these crazy things that would happen in the area. Because I grew up in this area where I live. And it's a very small town here in Pennsylvania. We're not too far from Philadelphia. We're not too far from New York City. And we, I'm sharing these stories, right? I'm like, man, we used to go to this one town. It was kind of had a lawless territory, man. I don't think the township police ever really ventured out into that area because it was just way out into no man's land. How this little area even went to our high school was in our district, I don't even know, right? So we're talking about this area. We're talking about the craziness. Like you would go there, there'd be like parties going on. There's like kids in the street doing who knows what. They had, they're out there biking, skateboarding, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So then he runs into a guy and he's talking to him. And a couple days after talking to me, he sees somebody else and he's like, hey, let me know about this. My friend described it as a little lawless territory, and the dude lit up. He's like, this guy's probably in his 40s. I see him all the time through work stuff. And he's like, the guy just doesn't look like he's enjoying his job. But when I brought this up, man, he kind of lit up and started sharing all these stories, right? Stories of this guy's childhood. And in that conversation, then he's like, this guy told him the same thing that I told my friend, right? I was like, man, there's a lot of people that died. A lot of people are dead that I grew up with, that I knew kind of whether or not they were close acquaintances or not. In this little small town here, and this is not the only small town in the United States that has seen a lot of drug-related death in their young population, man. The opioid crisis that kind of came to a steam in the late 90s, early 2000s, we'll say, hit some of these small towns hard. And where I grew up, people close to me were affected, right? I've talked about this stuff in the past with losing my brother to substance abuse issues. But really, in my mind, whether or not it's substance abuse or something like suicide, all of these things are mental. They stem from our mental health, lack thereof, I would say. So over the years now, this has been probably a good solid decade plus. You'd have these like local politicians, state, national, presidential, whatever it may be, right? This is one of these problems that, in my opinion, just never gets addressed. It's one of those things that nobody seems to really care too much about. They want to talk about all these other things and kind of create some smoke screens. But to me, there's a few things that I'm really interested in. I'm interested in health and fitness, and I'm in the health and fitness of our country, and I'm also interested in, the mental health and fitness of our country. And my personal experiences may lead me to be a little bit more sensitive towards those that are struggling with, say, drug addiction, because seeing it so close up in my life, right? So now I'm at this point where, peers have died, relatives have died, and now kids that I've coached have died. There's just a terrible story that happened last week. And, I read the write-up about what happened to this kid, and it's all this negative crap. It's all this stuff, it's like, don't define somebody by the bad times in their life, right? So it's about, one arrest, second arrest, third arrest, and all this other crap. And I'm like, the kid just died. Granted, he's not a kid anymore. He's 29. And I'm like, why are you talking about all this crap? He died. It's a sad death. The story's not about the criminal activity that he did his entire life, right? The story should be about problems that we see that don't seem to be going away in terms of, the tools that we're giving our kids here, the kids that grow up, right? They're not getting the right tools. And I don't know what this kid's childhood was like, but when I met him when he's in middle school, say, always respectful, had a little fiery side to him, a little bit of temper, right? But you could always see that there's always like that fine line, right? This kid was flirting with that line, man. Good and bad, good and bad, good and bad. Which way do I go? And when you start veering in that wrong direction, it's hard to get back. Now, You have your home life, right, which I can't comment on because I don't know how this kid grew up. I don't know how a lot of people grow up. And then you have these environmental factors that start showing up when you're in school, right? Choosing to be around the right people is really important. So listen to your parents, right? If you're a kid, listen to this. Surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people that want the best for you. Surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up and not bring you down. And when you get to that crossroads, just know that there's a right path and a wrong path. And everybody out there has the ability to go down either path. So if you went down this good path, so to speak, right, you're not more virtuous than somebody else. You made a decision in one moment that led you there, and then you made another decision in another moment that kept you there. And you kept making those same decisions over and over again. My opinion is this: everybody has the ability to do good and bad. Everybody has the ability to be redeemed, to kind of snap out of whatever funk that they are in. If you are on that bad path, if you're on a path that you don't desire, a path that you're not happy with, find examples of people that got out of that and try to emulate what they're doing. Try to emulate those that you aspire to be. And just hope that you have enough time to make the right decisions, because time is finite. And for some of us, whether or not it is drug use, suicide, crime, some of these things will take your time away. Death will absolutely take your time away. Getting thrown in prison for years will take your years away. All right? But as long as you're here, as long as you're breathing, you still have the ability to make a good decision. And you should look at each and every little decision that you make and try to always choose the right option. And if you don't choose the right option, but you still want to make a change, try to find that environment that's going to foster it. Try to talk to people that may have been down the same path that you're on. Try to emulate those, like I previously said, man. Try to emulate those that did what you aspire to do and get yourself out of that funk. I hope you guys like this episode. Chris Flook Podcast. We're on YouTube. Like, subscribe, give me a review, share. Apple, Google, it's everywhere, right? I'm trying to get the word out. This podcast here kind of supports what I do in other areas where we're just trying to make people in my local community, man, starting at the young age, all the way up to adulthood, right? We're trying to encourage physical fitness. We're trying to encourage having a good, positive, healthy state of mind, creating an environment here where people can come out here and exercise and feel good about themselves and do some good. Hopefully, do some good in the world. Peace, everybody.